Magic, metaphysics, and mysticism. What the? That's what we're going to talk about today. My friend Steve sent me a message earlier and says, "What do you want to talk about in the magic world?" And we came up with these three different things, and that's what we're going to talk about today because they're different things. You know why they're different? Because they're spelt different. Other than that, let's go find that guy. Let me see if we can make Steve appear out of nowhere. Let me go get my magic wand. I don't have a magic wand. We'll just snap my fingers. Look at that technology.
Hey, thank you.
Good die. How are you doing on the other side of the pond? You're not on the other side of the pond.
No, the other side of the mountain. Or I don't know. I don't know how you want to look at it. Yeah, I'm way down here in Florida, and you're up there in Minneapolis. I'm down where here it's warm, and you're up here where it's still cold, right?
It's actually going to be like 60 today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, short sleeve weather.
Okay.
So here's what we're talking about today, mister.
Yeah.
We're talking about magic, metaphysics, and mysticism.
Yeah. Well, what happened is, you and I have overlapped our conversations and have found ourselves sometimes going down the same path, in regards to the topics, mixing magic with mysticism and metaphysics. So that's the reason why I suggested this. And I think we're not the only ones. I think that there are a lot of magicians out there who lean in that direction. So that's why we're going to start talking about this.
Well, the first part we can clarify is, are we talking about the magic with the J and a K where it's woo-woo, or are we talking about magicians doing magic tricks that seem to be mystical and magical and metaphysical?
Well, no. My magic that I perform for entertainment is not based around mysticism or metaphysicals, it is strictly entertainment. Right. But that does not mean that the metaphysical does not play a role in that. But it's through. I'll explain it later. But I don't particularly do magic to illustrate mysticism or metaphysics. I don't. I entertain just to entertain, make people laugh.
Sure. Well, there was one guy, I can't remember if it was Dan Harland or who was this other guy? Harkey, I think his name was, from the West Coast. And he did this thing with a pin. He drew a pen, took a pen and put a little mark on a business card. Then he poked the pin through the hole and he moved the pin across the card, like dragging the hole, but it didn't tear. And then he pulled it back out and the hole moved from where the dot was over to the other side of the card. And the way he explained it was that, deep thought about a solid item can't occupy the same space at the same time. And so he got into the metaphysical patter about it, which made it very intriguing and thinking, did that really just happen? But we both know the secret of the magic.
We know. We both know that was a trick, a magic trick.
Yeah.
At the same time, it can illustrate a concept,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I mean, years ago, I used to do what they call gospel magic, where you would illustrate the gospel using magic tricks. But I slowly moved away from that. Not that I did change my perspective on religion, but I didn't totally lose my spirituality. I mean, it's still there, but I no longer try to illustrate the spiritual aspect through my magic. Here's the thing. I will say this: when I make people laugh, and when I put smiles on their faces, that is the beginning of enlightenment. Because they're becoming more aware of themselves. And that joy is the source of life itself. So that's my metaphysics. Okay?
I'll give you that. They say laughter is the best medicine, right?
Yeah, right.
You can get into that. What do they call that? That healing where they take the guts out. What do they call that?
Take the guts out.
Well, they use.
Psychic healing?
Yeah, psychic healing, they call it. So there's a fine line between doing it as a trick or doing it as a trick.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'll give you an example. Go ahead.
and what's your intention when you're doing that? Because some people say, well, yes, it's a trick, but it got them to believe that they were cancer
Right.
free. Therefore, it's a placebo, so it's not,
Right.
not bad. It's
And
okay.
there's something to be said about that. And here's another example. I have friends. You see, here in Florida, we have a city called Casadega, which is at one time was the spiritualist capital of the world. Now it's the second capital of the world. And I had two ministers, excuse me, two ministers in the spiritualist church asked me to teach them some magic so they could use in their service. And I went,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that, because if what you're promoting is real, you don't need a magic trick to help people believe. But that's what they wanted me to do, and I refused to cooperate with them.
I think it totally depends on the intention of it. If someone's doing like the grandmother's bead thing to bring Christ in the middle and all that kind of stuff that they do, and it's just a metaphor, it's a magic trick, so everybody knows that it's a trick. But if they're manipulating someone, it's kind of like when you go into the magic world, the magic trick world, and you see the people in Las Vegas doing the helicopter card and all that stuff, and they're pitching this thing and selling it for $30. Is that ethical when it costs them like I don't know how much is 3 feet of that stuff.
Less than $1.
Well, 30,000 yards is $3. 30,000 yards of what do I say? Of the full braid.
I sell some of that stuff on my DollarStoreMagicTricks.com.
Right. But my point is, are people just doing this thing and say, I'm not going to teach you the secret until you give me $30 or $50? And then you teach them the secret, and the person goes, oh, man. So is that ethical to sell somebody something for $30 that could have cost them?
Is it ethical? Yeah. If they understand that they're buying a trick, they're not buying some supernatural gift, of some sort,
Right.
So, yeah. I tell people that what I'm doing is strictly a trick, and yet when you would go see some of these big shows like Siegfried and Roy years ago, or David Copperfield, people walk out there shaking their heads. Is that real? Can they really do that? And there are people who believe that what magicians do is real. And
Sure.
And it's sad that they haven't educated themselves enough to know the difference between a magic trick and something that we consider as real. But here's the thing. Here's our challenge. The challenge is what we know as science is science is being defined every day. It's evolving itself.
Sure.
Because what we used to believe years ago as being a magic trick, was considered a form of science, and magic, the art of magic, has kind of helped science move forward, and vice versa.
Mhm.
Even today, so it gets confusing.
It does. It's like our conversation we had earlier about technology. And for this talk, I went onto Google and I defined metaphysical versus mysticism. And I was surprised to see that metaphysical no longer had the definition that I learned about 20
Yep.
years ago.
Which was
Beyond physical. Meta meaning beyond. And meta, it's now defined as something I don't even understand anymore.
And I had the same experience. I went to Google and I found that it was taking that definition away from that concept. And so, yeah, you're right. There's something going on there in regards to that.
Yeah, so it's like when they talk about that COVID thing, and you got to trust the science. Do you know what the science is?
Yeah. See, the thing with science is you have to measure. What makes science, the strength behind science, is it has to be measured. And when you don't measure it, or you don't have the tools to measure it,
it's theory.
It just open the door for deception or misinformation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's like Randy and debunking the people bending spoons and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because if you look at the movie Matrix, remember that there is no spoon. That if you think about it in depth, it's possible that you can get into a place where you can actually believe that everything turns into energy, and that spoon will appear to bend because there's not a spoon, there's just energy within all these molecules. So if you believe it, pretty soon you see the spoon bend. And I remember my mom watching Uri Geller on the Mike Douglas show, and he was bending spoons. She tried it, and she thought that she really bent it. And she was going, "My God, I did it, I did it." So did she really do it, or was it in her head? Did it physically bend?
Good question.
It's a good question, because you and I are both into this. I will say the metaphysical beliefs and the spiritual type of things, and the powers in the mind and the heart kind of thing, the heart mind heart connection. So if we believe in that, you can change reality through your beliefs. Could we possibly bend a physical spoon? I would say no, because there's physical laws. But when you get into the beyond physical, the metaphysical,
Right.
those laws are gone, and you can now walk on water and turn water into wine.
Well, they're not gone. They're different levels of understanding of reality. Let me just start with this. Here's a premise. The reason I don't have any problem with the metaphysical topic is because this is just a body, but my true self is a spirit being. It's not this physical body. So when this body dies, I move on. It's not like I disappeared, but that's my belief. Okay.
Mhm.
So because the premise is that I'm a spirit being, I'm living in a physical world, or what you refer to as the matrix. And the matrix is real, and yet it's not real. Because when you realize how it is that we experience this, see, that's one of the things about magic. When people say, "Wow, what you just did, is that real?" And I said, "Well, what did you experience?" If they experienced something that they felt like it was real, then to them it is real. At the same time, I help create that illusion with my skills and my art form. Now,
Right.
is that being deceptive? No, I don't know that I'm being deceptive if I say, "Well, what did you experience?" Because I'm not going to take away from them the possibility of them having an experience that is supernatural. Okay.
I think a better word than deceptive would be malicious,
Yes.
because it
Right.
is deceptive.
Yeah. Right.
And then it comes down to your intention. Are you trying to hurt someone
Right.
or manipulate someone into giving
Right.
you something that you haven't earned?
Right. No.
Well,
No.
it boils down to the ethics of it. It's
Yeah.
like those charlatans that are out there doing whatever they're doing just to make money and sell shit.
Let me tell you, years ago, I saw a magician named Danny Korm, and he did a
Yeah, Danny
university.
Corm used to do.
Yeah, he did a university presentation, and he blew people away with his mentalism. And he told them more than once during the program that this is all trick. It's all magic. And yet afterwards, when I went to the student union building and everybody was talking, they all believed that what he did was real,
Sure.
because that was their experience. So even when you tell people, and I tell people when I do my show, what you're about to see is called magic. It's the art of make believe, the art of illusion. And yet I'm going to fool you because that's my job.
Yeah. I used to go to a lot of those metaphysical expos and events and things. And I remember once I was at one and I was bending some forks, making forks bend and stuff. And a person came up to me and they says, "I know a friend of mine can do that." And I go, "Well, this is a trick, right?" She goes, "No, it's not." It's like, it is interesting where belief will take a person, where I think that is good, that if a person believes in themselves and is confident, they can go and they can fulfill their dreams and desires because they believe in themselves. So there is good thing.
Okay, here's another story. I had a car once that was in bad shape. And I asked the mechanic, I said, "With the condition my car is in, can I still drive it?" And he goes, "Well, you tell me." And I said, "Well, I find myself praying for my car Now, this is what I was saying. And he says, well, let me tell you, I, as a mechanic, can tell you there are cars out there running. I don't know how they're running because what I know, how they function, they're not running. Anyway, and so he made it sound as though that my prayers did make a difference, you know. And I do. I will tell you this. The car I have right now, I'm grateful for that car, and I do say words of gratitude, and I do bless it. And whether or not that is making a difference for the car, I don't know, but it makes a difference for me.
Well, it can't hurt, right? Like, I had a thought that came and went. Oh, have you ever gone to a gig? You're on the way to a gig and you think you're going to be late because of traffic and stuff, and you may be left a little bit late, yet you still get there, but you're convinced that there's no way I'm going to be able to get there in 20 minutes with rush hour traffic, all these stoplights, and then you still get there on time. So is time an illusion?
I believe it is, you know, to tell you the truth.
Well, when you were in the green room and you came out, you mentioned something about that. And interestingly enough, there's that 30-second timer that I put on. When I put that on nowadays, it seems like it's slower than when I used to do it because it's din, 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 din. It seems slower. Is that possible? I thought a second was a second, but you know, what if the whole earth and universe is all slowing down and it's doing it for everybody so they don't notice it? You know, all of our phones are all synchronized and stuff, yet a year is no longer a year. Magic. I love thinking about these things, but you know, usually when we have these conversations, eventually we get to the end and we go, I agree with you. We cheers. That's the agree to disagree thing, you know? Hell, I don't know.
Well, it goes back to what I said a while ago. I'm a spirit being first. So everything that I approach today, I comes from that place, you know, and so it changes my perception, my perspective about who I am and what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I get downloads of information that teach me or shows me wisdom and how to do what I do better and how to get the work that I do. There and coming together with you has been a synchronistic moment because when we first started talking, we didn't know that we shared a common beliefs, you know,
Right.
and the metaphysics. We didn't know that, and so it's funny how we came together. But I believe that's the synchronicity of being open and being motivated and directed by spirit, you know, by the spirit within me.
Yeah,
So
my wife Monica had developed a thing. She calls it the synchronicity experience. And we would do this on occasion when we lived in Asheville, North Carolina, is where she developed it. And it's basically about just setting an intention of what you want to have happen, and then walk around the town looking for coincidences and serendipity things. And all of a sudden these things pop up and go, that validates that.
I could write a book on serendipity and synchronicity. I've had so many things in my life happen. There's no way I could have planned it. Let me just share this real quick. Here's a book. Here's a book that really made a difference for me.
The Think and Grow Rich Action Pack. I haven't seen that.
This is written by Napoleon Hill.
The Action Pack.
Yeah, well, this one has a study in the backside of it. That's what the action pack is.
Okay.
But I'm another magician. Samuel Patrick Smith told me about this book many years ago, back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I got this book. I started studying this book. In fact, this is my original copy. That's why it looks so old. And if you go through here, you'll see the notes and the outlines and things I've done. I'm going to put the screen.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this book really opened me up. I mean, I was already a spiritual person, I would call myself, but this really gave me some ground, a scientific approach to getting what I wanted. Now, this is not just about making money. It's about finding what you want in life, you know. So the principles that are taught in that book, which are based around desire, faith, auto-suggestion, things like that, and in masterminding with people like I am doing with you, you know, that's all part of this. It is a science, It can be duplicated. It is duplicated.
Yeah, it's the law of attraction, and the word rich can be more than just money. It can be
Yeah.
rich in spirit, rich in
Right.
happiness, rich and just wealthy. And
Right.
here's a strange coincidence. Yesterday, I was we were at some of the different thrift stores looking for stuff. Monica was looking for a little bin thing to put some of her craft projects and stuff in, and I was in there, and I thought I need to get a copy of Think and Grow Rich. I haven't had one for a while, so I was going to
Are
go
you
and
serious?
I was going to go look for Think and Grow Rich. But I haven't had it since I was in my 20s, I think. So this validates now that I better get over there and get another copy of Think and Grow Rich. So there's a serendipity coincidence that this happened.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah.
But that is how the stuff happens, and just being aware of all the different things that are happening. So that in itself is magical, mystical, and metaphysical.
Yeah. It's sometimes you can't explain it or you have difficulty explaining it. And so the main thing is to be open and not to be shut down, not to get stuck in the matrix. We live in the matrix, but see, I live in two worlds. I think I live in the matrix and I live in the spiritual kingdom too.
Yeah.
So because I'm a spirit being, I'm just here for a visit,
And then going back to our topic of magic and magicians and stuff, it's that kind of thing that helps someone in their performance. When you take a coin and you put it in your hand and you throw it up and it goes in the air and it disappears in the air, in your mind or in the spectator's mind, they saw it vanish in the air. When you and I both know it vanished a long time before that.
Yeah. Right.
So let's shut this off. We've been going for 22 minutes. You got any parting thoughts on this concept of magic and metaphysics and the physical world versus
my parting thoughts would be everybody has their own journey. They have to figure out who they really are and what is their purpose. And the understanding the metaphysics is may not be easy, but to be open to it is important, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Good point. Get to know yourself so you can not replicate David Blaine or David Copperfield and just be you. Right?
That's right. That's right. And doing that's not easy. That's a whole nother video podcast. Just talk about that.
That's right. And you're a coach on that kind of stuff, so you can help people find themselves.
Yeah.
Where am I? Okay, Steve-O, I'm going to pop you in the green room. We can chit chat a little bit later, okay?
Later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
There you have it, my friend Steve and Hart. And we were just talking about magic, metaphysics, and mysticism. It's an interesting thing when you're a young kid and someone makes a quarter disappear and pulls it out from behind your ear, and then you go down this path of learning about stuff that's supposedly impossible. Your brain develops differently, and mine has, that's for sure. So, I'm out. Peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Tune in again to the Magic Brad Show. Be good, be kind, be safe, be nice. Did I say be nice?